We kind of dealt with the sequel to Rebels. Now this is more the sequel to the Clone Wars, Bad Batch. So the Bad Batch, and this is one that I have to admit, at first I wasn't really all that excited about because I did enjoy the Bad Batch in that last season of Clone Wars a lot more than I thought I would. But at the same time, when I found out that, okay, just setting the stage here, you're getting this announcement from Dave Filoni. Yeah, we're going to do another animated series. And now your mind is wandering. Ooh, I wonder what it could be. I wonder where it could be set. I wonder what's going to happen. And then what do we get? We're going to do a series on the Bad Batch. And I'm like, really? It's not that I think it would be bad, no pun intended. It's just that I don't know if we need this. This is feeling like Solo to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, now don't get me wrong. From the sizzle reel that we did see that they have, I can see how it could get some. I can see how it could get interesting because the Bad Batch are kind of like mercenaries at this point, and they were always kind of loyal to the at the Republic at one point, but now they're kind of loyal to the Empire, or at least they have some alliances with the Empire, especially when you see like Tarkin, kind of giving them orders, and he was. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I want to see how like Tarkin is going to handle these guys, because of course they're like this rogue group of clones, but they're highly effective. So I can see why Tarkin's like, well, I'm only going to use the best people I need for certain jobs. But then you got to wonder, well, what are those jobs? And then, of course, this is during a time where Vader's around. So are we going to get, more Vader in this? Not a whole lot, I mean, but I can
no,
see
I know what
him,
you mean.
Some sprinkle in there a
Sure.
little bit. But, I mean, as far as the Bad Batch, do I really need to see a whole thing with them? Not really.
Okay, but picture this.
Sicily, 1920.
Yeah, right. I mean, I agree. I agree because you do have a point, and it is something that admittedly I didn't think about. Is the fact that there is something interesting there, and this is something that I've been saying actually ever since probably Attack of the Clones. And that is the Republic, which was the legitimate government,
Right.
which are the ones that are the good guys, becomes the Empire.
Right.
And a lot of times people forget that. It's like, people are like, well, how can they fight for this evil empire? To most people, this is just kind of the Republic.
Yeah,
but
it's just the evolution of it.
imperialized,
Yep.
And so you actually have this thing in the Bad Batch because here's these clones that are fighting for the Republic, and they kind of still are, but they go from being perceived as good guys to bad guys. And there is a lot of storytelling there. So now there's been a little bit of a chat explosion here. Yorgi says, do you think that Disney is going to make Baby Yoda clones for these new shows? I think I know what he's saying. And Yorgi, definitely correct me if I'm misinterpreting the question here, but I think basically what he's saying is there going to be the new Baby Yoda for each one of these things? Is it going to be like some sort of either cute character or some, kind of breakout type character that's going to be featured in some of these shows?
I honestly kind of look at the Bad Batch almost as a precursor to Rogue One.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see them it kind of being like that war film. Like, okay, the Empire is trying to take over. They got to get certain places in line. They got to get certain, systems together. There's certain regimes who might rebel against the Empire who's like, hey, we don't subscribe to this. You guys used to take care of us. Now, all of a sudden, you're dictating to us. We don't want to be a part of it. And it's like, well, we need your resources. So either going to give them to us or we're going to take them. And then they dispatch the Bad Batch. And, so I can see in like, Dave Cossey tweeted. I mean, not tweeted, but chatted in. The Bad Batch series would be like, the Star Wars version of the A Team. Exactly.
And that's a good point. And that is a good point because it could be. It could actually be something like that.
That's what I imagine. And, we've often talked about how, you talk about genres or different genres within the Star Wars universe. And so we've already got Western with The Mandalorian. So I could even see them taking like popular shows that were like, big in the 80s or 90s, like the A-Team or something like that.
Sure.
And just do a Star Wars version of that.
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, it's certainly possible. And again, I mean, I think, we'll talk about it a little later, but I think that Visions thing, I think they said there's going to be like some horror mystery elements to that one or kind of like a thriller type of thing. So definitely, and this is something I had been hoping for a long time, it looks like Lucasfilm and Disney are finally catching up to some of the fan base who have said, hey, why not do genre films? Why not do things in this genre or that genre, but they just happen to take place in the Star Wars universe.
Now, one thing I will say, what would really be cool, I just kind of thought about it. So the Bad Batch takes place like after the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
What if they use the Bad Batch to hunt down the remaining Jedi?
Oh, yeah, as part of Order 66?
Yeah.
Well, no, that was actually in, that wasn't the Bad Batch.
Because, you had the Inquisitors, you had all those different...
Right, but I mean, there was a time, though, where, like, some of them, like Rex or some, discovered the chip and deactivated it. And it makes you wonder, then, if he went to any other clones, hey, there's this chip that you all need to get out of there or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, hey, if Tarkin's dealing with them, Vader's around, why not? And, again, that would be... Because, again, you kind of fell in love with the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Because they were the good guys. Now they're not the good guys. But if you look at it from their point of view or their perspective, they're fighting for the same organization, basically. The Republic has become the Empire. It's still the legitimate government. And that's what I think a lot of people miss.
Absolutely. Ronaldo says, first of all, that trailer was spectacular. Yeah, yes, it was. He also says, I find it very interesting to see post Order 66 events from the clones' point of view. Also, I've always wanted a Republic Commando series, and Bad Batch will be the closest thing.
Absolutely.
By the way, was that Fennec Shand in the trailer?
I didn't catch that. I don't know. But it wouldn't, well, I don't know. It's because being that she's basically like a Mandalorian character, I'm not sure how far back that whole thing goes. So we'll have to see, I mean, it's one of those things like everybody's going through things with a microscope and, the fine-tooth comb and all that stuff, trying to find Easter eggs and everything like that. And
right.
My advice on that one is, because it's always good to support YouTubers, somebody by now has taken the trailer and just like, here's 37 Easter eggs you missed from, Right. I would say go through that because I'm sure if it was, I'm sure somebody has discovered that. And then, of course, he goes on to say, I really want to see that Rambo clone again.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Totally what it was like.
I know. That's completely where my mind went to. So that was really cool. But you're right. I mean, again, it could very well be that the Bad Batch, it's like Solo. Solo was a movie that I wasn't necessarily against, but I didn't think it was a good follow-up for The Last Jedi. Now, again, I don't mean like a sequel, but I mean the movie that comes out after. But at the same time, it probably needed to be something like that because it was a good, fun, it feels like Star Wars again.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely needed an uplifting, kind of upbeat, fun adventure movie.
Sure.
With that, and that was even almost a genre film. If you think about it, that kind of had an Ocean's 11 sort of
like
vibe to it. Yeah, the heist thing. And I think they could do more stuff like that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what I would like to see anyway. But what about you guys? I mean, we don't want to leave you guys out. What do you think of this whole Bad Batch thing? Is this something that you wanted? Were you a fan of the Bad Batch from the Clone Wars? And you're like, hey, I'd like to see more on these guys. Or did you lean a little bit more on the side of, hey, I really wish that they could have come up with something else. Definitely let us know in the comments below.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.